Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about how I feel that the game has just been pushing me a little bit too hard lately and how I have at least decided that I'm going to have to react. In this game, you're going to see when I'm just trying my darn hardest in every single way. You'll see that I'm trying to create a tactic with the team, trying to get them to come with me into where I think the most important location is. You'll see that I'm playing with a set of equipment that I feel is going to help be able to penetrate some of the bushes with the commander's vision system, a fully maxed out Astron Rex, and we're going to try and take it as hard as we can to the enemy team. Now, when I say World of Tanks has been just pushing me a little bit too hard recently, what do I mean? Well, throughout this entire year, I feel that I've been really consistent with my plays across a wide variety of tanks. Most evenings, I'll pack either a 60 or a 70% win ratio, and I'll usually end out around about kind of like that 63%. Of course, sometimes I'll play for a little bit of fun, or I'll play just, for some giggles, and then that will lower it. But in the last week, I've had multiple sessions where for some reason, even though I would feel that I'm averaging decent amounts of damage and spotting, that I just haven't been able to achieve the win ratios and the goals that I really set myself. So in today's video, you are going to be seeing me try and do everything that I possibly can through communication and also making the plays myself to be able to get through this one with a win. To set the scene and the context for this game here, the previous one I played against tier 10 tanks in the Astron Rex, dealt about 5,000 damage, and still lost the battle even in the bottom tier tank. This time, we're in our top tier Astron Rex, and we're a little bit more powerful against the tier 6s than we are against the tier 10s. So when I'm playing on live oaks, I want to take the dip. If I've got gun depression, even if I don't, especially if it's an artillery game, I want to try and make a play for the dip. I want to highlight a few things here. Firstly, Skoda, I asked you to wait while I reload, and unfortunately I can't go into that with you, buddy, while I don't have any rounds left in my tank. So this situation, let me talk about how the game developed right from the beginning. We tried to instigate a push. Notice that the Comet and the T-34-100 initially were going up into the town. Then they actually switched. They came down here, although it was a little bit too late for us to be able to take the dip. However, I have to give big respect to the Comet and the T-34-1 in this platoon, that they will actually work with me really well in this game, and that they changed the position that they were going into, realizing that, you know what, if we do take those dips in our mid-tier, medium tanks, maybe we can be more influential in the battle. So by turning around and coming and assisting us, it meant that we weren't able to take the dip initially, which would have been great if we'd taken it in the first place. But at least now, by setting a little bit of an ambush, by using the second ridgeline back and taking out a couple of the vehicles, we might be able to retake the dip before the artillery inevitably grind us down. The last thing that you want is to be sitting in a position like I am now when there are 3 self-propelled guns on the enemy team. You want to be as close to a steep ridge as possible. Luckily, as you can see, as the Astron Rex is able to go backwards at 30 kilometers an hour, you're able to actually avoid artillery shells just by hearing them in this tank with its awesome acceleration. And so I was able to dodge the 2 self-propelled gun rounds there, and just by spotting out the Scorpion G and putting a couple of rounds into them, we've actually managed to get that tier 8 taken care of. So I'm going to put one into the Progetto, but as you can see, he's able to actually fall back behind that ridgeline before able to put a second one in. My T-34-100 buddy is going to push into the dip, which causes distraction, which allows me to advance. I'm going to put one into the T-34-85M, and now I've got to decide, who do I want to shoot? Well, obviously I want to take out the top tier tank, which has the auto reloader right. So I shut them down, I press my F8 key to communicate to my team that I'm reloading and I'm no longer going to be able to help them out. And then you see that I say thank you to the T-34-100, who gives me a thumbs up back. So I say, hey friends, wait here. I ping the corner, and then I'm going to tell them, I will spot for you. That is why I've taken the commander's vision system on this tank. Usually I will use vents, the improved aiming device, because the accuracy on the Astron Rex is an abysmal 0.43, and I'll combine it with a turbo. For this build specifically, I didn't feel like I wanted to give up the speed. I still wanted to be a mobile tank, because the vehicle's actually limited to 52 without taking the turbocharger, but I'm dropping my accuracy because I thought that I'd be mostly fighting in close quarters combat, and also I think it's more important to have the commander's vision system on this tank, on this map specifically. What it will allow me to do is hopefully light up all of the self-propelled guns and all of those sneaky tank destroyers that are coming after us. I say a big thank you to the Comet for pushing through and coming to support me in this position as well. Here's one of my biggest tips for any of you who feel uncomfortable in World of Tanks. If you feel uncomfortable, or maybe you're in a bottom tier tank against some higher tier vehicles, so you don't really know what to do in a situation. If you support your top tier vehicles, if they look like they know what they're doing, you can be hugely influential. Quite often in World of Tanks, all it will take is for me to have another vehicle with me to be able to avoid those awkward situations of either where you meet more tanks than you thought you would, or for them to be able to finish off a shot or two into an enemy vehicle, as we saw with the T-34-85M, and then you're suddenly able to come through situations that otherwise you were unable to. Unfortunately, the Comet followed it up with a brave push, and while he managed to get rid of a self-propelled gun by the looks of it, and got some good damage into the E-25, yeah, you can't really drive into an E-25 with the IS-2M support and the two self-propelled guns there. So now I'm going to try and ask the T-34-100 to not continue to push down the east, because the E-25 is just going to grind them out. Instead, what I'm going to do is try to communicate with the player to let them know that there's a series of bushes that you can see as I'm pinging the map. I'll show you exactly which ones I'm trying to indicate as I drive over here. These bushes right in this position. They allow you to be able to get cross vision on any tanks that pull back, and also will provide you quite a lot of security, but you're not impossible to be able to find for any of the vehicles that may be skulking around in the bushes there. So with the T-34-100 now giving me a bit of a cross vision there from the east, and considering we haven't found anything, I feel like now there's no point in going into a camp when you have an opportunity to be able to close the distance and go into the town. So that is what we're going to try and do. I'm trying to relay to the T-34-100 that I can't help him in that position anymore, and that he should fall back from the bushes, and he should actually take the position that I was in so he can manage to have some vision from the hill. We've got a very interesting scenario here because we're actually up by 2 vehicles, but we're down by 400 hit points. And you know, I must give a big shout out to this T-34-100, they're called Tikkun, for once again listening, coming across from the east set of bushes, going to the hill. And now I'm going to say a thank you to the King Tiger as well, and ask him to want to come in and get the distraction on the Tiger 2 to allow me to shut them down. And I hear my favorite voice line in World of Tanks, gotcha. So the Tiger was actually set up, I guess, to engage the T-34-100 who spotted. I'm going to side scrape round the corner, but the Tiger's actually going to manage to penetrate me. And this is where the Astron Rex just isn't really the auto-loader of your dreams, because it has a rather long intra-clip reload. And that low roll there doesn't really change anything because he had 100 hit points left, but it took us so long to be able to get those shots in. It actually took 12 seconds to deliver 4 shells in this tank. That is absolutely outrageous. And did anyone just hear that there was some rustling behind me? Oh my word, an artillery trying to sneak up behind me. I did not expect the AMX-13 F3 to be in the town in that scenario. So once again, trying to communicate with my team. Asking the King Tiger to wait for my reload. Pressing my F8 key, or you can hold down your Z key and go to the reload on the communications dial if that's easier for you. And in this situation, it's easy to get overconfident once again. We have way more tanks than the enemy team. We have 4 tanks and 3 self-propelled guns versus 2 tanks and a self-propelled gun on the enemy team. We outnumber them by 4 vehicles, but we only have 100 hit points more than them. I've seen so many games lost where players clearly aren't using the health bar that you can activate at the top of your screen to not only see how many vehicles you have with regards to an advantage, to actually see about how healthy those vehicles are. Now, of course, having more guns in the game is more useful, but having hit points sometimes allows you to make plays to be able to shut down the low health tanks, leaving them unable to defend themselves and to be able to overcome the hit point advantage. So you'll see that I'm trying to communicate with the T-34 now, that hero T-34-100, to ask them where was the E-25. And the fact that I got spotted there pretty much guarantees that the E-25 is in one of these bushes along here. So I'm going to stay down below the ridge line, and I feel like with 453 hit points right now, it's time to commit, because otherwise I feel like the GW Panther and the King Tiger Oh, well, I was going to be able to shut down my King Tiger with the IS-2M, and as soon as that King Tiger dies, suddenly I'm going to be in a horrible situation as the platoon on the enemy team all join up. They're all in a clan. To all intents and purposes, they're communicating on Discord, and they're well practiced at working together. So we've got our work cut out for us, as it's myself and a Jackson and 3 self-propelled guns now against a platoon with 1 self-propelled gun in support. So in this situation, I'm thinking, do I want the GW Panther? The last thing that I want to do is hang around because I know the IS-2M will be coming. The E25 bounces a gold round off me, and I'm not actually going to come around this corner. And do you know why? Because if I lose the hit points, I can't take another hit from the IS-2M. So usually, I would go around the corner and get my top gun, right? But I was trying to play so tight to win this game, and I didn't want to lose those extra few hit points that I need to be able to take a hit from the IS-2M's 122mm, that I actually just think, well, why don't I just sit here, wait for the Jackson to support me, or alternatively the artillery can splash him. So I was willing to give up a top gun purely to keep those hit points to enable me to be able to take a hit at least 70 if not 80% of the time against the IS-2M. But considering how bad of a run I have been on in the last few weeks, or the last week, with regards to my teams and with regards to my RNG, I was not willing to take any chances. So as you can see, I'm just going to keep kiting the IS-2M. I'm just going to keep him lit up, try and use that artillery barrage. But of course, if I hear him fire at the Jackson, which I just did, then it's time to go after him. And then we'll put 1 round in, and we'll put a 2nd round in, and just like that. World of Tanks, you pushed me too far. You couldn't take this one away from me. I've literally been sitting at about a 50% win ratio, even while playing fairly decent tier 8 tanks over the last week. So if any of you out there feel that the matchmaker has been excessively hard on you, or that you feel that the I guess a lot of the premium tanks going into the game, some of them which are very good in the form of the Skoda T56 and the 122TM inside the loot boxes, has kind of made the matchmaking a little bit unbalanced. It's happening. Well, it's happening to me. I'm not sure if it's happening to all of us, because for every player out there like me who's not achieving what they used to, there must be a player out there who's now achieving more than they used to. And maybe that's the difference. Maybe a lot of players are getting the Skoda T56, getting the 122TM, and it's pumping up their win ratio a little bit with inflation there. And while I do feel there's an element of that, I don't think that's the only excuse. I've been probably just putting a lot of effort into the content recently, and maybe it's been detracting from my actual performance in the game itself. Maybe I'm showing a little bit of fatigue. I'm not going to slow down though, not until the end of the year, and then I'll probably take a couple more days off occasionally in January. What I really showed here is that if you dig deep and have your full focus and use all of the tools at your disposal and play tight, you can still carry hard. And sometimes that's what you've got to do when the matchmaker is seriously testing you. And while the results of full tryharding are often really good, how about 300,000 credits profit in this single game of World of Tanks, and even with the accuracy of this vehicle, hitting every single shot and penetrating all of the 21 shells that we fired, nailing 1,938 base experience, enough to get an ace tanker, even if we probably got a quarter less of that. And sometimes you're going to have to do 4 times the damage of pretty much anyone else on your team to be able to get through the battle. But once again, I want to give a massive shout out to Takun, because I definitely wouldn't have got through this battle without your sterling support and help on that flank. And thank you so much for actually responding to the communication in the game. It means so much to me when you finally manage to meet one of those players in the random queue who want to work together to be able to stick it to the matchmaker and shout out, "Not today, World of Tanks." And I want to finish this video by saying one important thing as well. While I can sit here, try hard as much as I want when the game and creating content is my full focus, I can totally understand how frustrated a lot of you, because I'm becoming frustrated, can be. Because while you can go and try and play your heart out and try as hard as you can in every single game, and you can manage to go and have some smashing results, I would question that how tiring is it? I would argue playing World of Tanks like this is tiring. You almost have to approach it as if it's some kind of clinical demolition of the enemy team while fully focused at every moment of the game to be able to avoid any possible pitfalls that you may go into. And while it is perfectly possible to play like that, in some ways it does feel as if you're grinding a little bit too hard or even working rather than just blowing off some steam and having some fun. So when a lot of you are sitting there thinking about your win rate and so on and so forth, sometimes I think that in a fun game like this, it's very important to not try and care too much about those statistics and to focus on having fun above all. And sometimes the tryharding, while it can have great results, is it really worth it at the end of the day? Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this full focus Astron Rex gameplay. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments if you're feeling with the Matchmaker like I do at the moment. And if you're watching this video as it goes live on Sunday, it's time for the World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase live right now on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby. And this week, I'm going to be featuring the Leopard 1 because it's going to be top of the tree tomorrow, so you're going to be able to get it for a meaty discount for a month. So if you want to know everything there is to know about the German sniping medium tanks, then come along as I showcase all of their mobility, their awesome sniping potential, and of course some German engineering, right? So really looking forward to seeing all of you live right now, and as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.